So welcome to the Christmas special. It's a time for reflection. I was thinking about this year and what I'm doing now. And one of the things that I'm doing now is building a mindset community. So I think there's a lot of us out there that know that there's more potential in us. And where do you go? Like, for instance, if you're religious, you've got a place of worship, be it a church. If you're a football fan, you've got a stadium. But if you're taking on a venture where you're trying to get the most out of yourself, where do you go? And I thought to myself, well, there's not a place, so why don't we make one? That's what I'm building currently right now. And I thought about taking action. And why take action now, immediately, and not give it much thought? And I'd like to tell you about my friend Paul. So I met Paul in 2006. I knew Paul for, I think, about a year before. I knew of him. We were working in the same company, both self-employed, and so I knew the guy, but it was sort of fairly cold. There wasn't, it was formalities and pleasantries. And I remember having an opportunity to go and work in a different area, and I took the opportunity and I went up to Aberdeen. And the next month, Paul had came up, and again, pretty formal. I would say that our relationship was all business. Paul was a sort of closed book, and eventually, after being there for a few weeks, I think he wanted to go and watch a football, and he'd asked if there was a pub that had the football on, and I says, yeah, I says, go and check this one out. They've got a pub and they've always got the football on. They do good food, and he says, look, you fancy coming along? So that was the first sort of icebreaker for myself and Paul. And I remember when he was there, he was big into football, and I can't remember who was playing, but we ended up getting finding out a bit more about him. So he was into lifting weights, and at that time he'd probably put on a bit of weight. I couldn't believe it because he just looked like a heavy guy. He looked broad, but he was very, very heavy. And I says, look, man, there's no way. There's no way you've done this. So he, he starts telling me about his time, bodybuilding and training and entering some shows. And we had to develop a relationship. And while we were up there, because, it was just the two of us initially, we were staying in the same hotel, we're doing the same job, covering the same area, and ended up starting to train. But Paul had this weird tendency, a really unusual tendency. You probably know somebody that does this, but he wanted to start everything on a Monday. So it had to be the start of the year or Monday, the start of the week. So he could have the best idea on a Tuesday, but he would wait for the following Monday to begin, just as a preparation. It used to drive me crazy because I believe that if you have a great idea, you should do it now. A bit like what I've explained at the start. If you've got a good idea, go with it. We've seen a few guests that explain they just roll with it straight away, and I think that's the thing that struck me as strange. Like, this is a good idea, we should start now. But inevitably, it was the start of the year, and it was on a Monday. Because I remember that it was around October time. I was sort of saying, "Hey, look, if you can train, we should do it. I'm a young guy. I'd like to learn the ropes." But no, he would not budge. Stubborn as a mule. So we went on to train, and we began training and developed this friendship over the course of that year that we were up there. Got in great shape, learned from all his experience that he'd had, and totally changed. But not only did I change and get myself into decent shape, became stronger, and I was building my body, but I gained a lifetime friend. So as the years went on, we went our separate ways, in terms of our professional lives. And, I went into the world of investing, and by all accounts, took it on by storm. But me and Paul were always close and always training and always kept in touch. And Paul wanted to go and start a business, and he was in various companies, and he was essentially running their operations for them. And he always had this idea that he could do it himself, but he had the mindset that he liked to be part of a machine rather than be the leader. And we would talk about it, and I remember I would say to him, I would say, Paul, look, you can do this. You're already doing it. You know, you get out of your own way, just start. And he would say things like, you know, you should get involved, you should do this. And I could see what he was looking for, because he was looking for that safety net. He wanted someone to be involved with him. But I knew that this was something that he had to do himself, because he had to take that leap, he had to take that step. If you're out there and you're wanting to go from, you know, your first job, you need to take the step to go and get an interview. If you want to move to a different job, you need to then go and take that step. If you want to go from an employee to become self-employed, that's a big step. So there's all these big steps, and especially if you're self-employed and you want to branch off into the world of business or investing, that's a huge step. And I could see that was where Paul was at. And I said to him, I says, look, you know, we talk about all this stuff and all this advice. You should just do it. Just go for it. And over the years, we would have it would be a constant sort of to and fro of what you should do. And Paul would always come to me and say, look, you know, I don't know why I just don't listen to you at the start, because I get all your advice, I go and do it my way, and then I realise that what you said was correct, and then I eventually get around to doing it. I don't know why I should just save myself the hassle and do what you say I should. And I think part of him struggled with maybe a bit of belief in himself. And he wouldn't mind me saying that, because I believed in him. I believed that he could do it. I could see the potential in him. I could see that he had it. And, you know, I knew what he was thinking, you know, and it was sowing those seeds that he should definitely take the leap. So fast forward a number of years, he's taking on more projects, he's getting more work done, he's still not took the leap. And the time's right, and circumstances played out that he was faced with a decision to either keep doing what he was doing or to go and give it a go himself. And he, sooner rather than later, you know, better late than never, should I say, he decided to take the leap, and he went for it. And when he went for it, he had the initial fear, and that's expected. That's what you expect when you take on something new. What ifs, the doubt, have I made the right choice? Should I go back to what I'm doing? And I speak about this in depth in other episodes, where the old you wants to keep you where you are, and the new you're not really certain about, and you're in this sort of no man's land where you're trying to get to where you want to be, but the old you is trying to pull you back, and you need to let go of the old you and embrace the new version of yourself that you're creating. And I knew that's where Paul was. And he would say things like, you know, and it was just self-doubt, and I would drum it into him and say, look, you know, you're going to make this work. It's going to work, because you're already doing it. When you start this, it's going to work. Just do it. And he went for it. And guess what happened? It worked. So it started to work, and he started to really believe in himself, because he went through the process of, this might not be the right thing, to it starting to get a bit of traction.